Hello, Devlin Bishop here with you, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. I hope you're doing well tonight. I'm saying tonight because I'm recording this in the evening. I don't know when you're listening to it, but I hope you're well, whatever time of day it is. I'm going to warn you, I'm not in a bad place, but I'm not in the best place. I'm a little blue. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. It was a weird weekend. I'll talk about that a little later, maybe not in detail, but yeah, just a little bit. I actually was debating whether I was even going to do a podcast because I always try to get one every week, but comes a point where sometimes I said, now if I miss one, I'm not going to kick myself for it. I'm not going to, beat myself up over it. It happened. And I'm trying to do that more in life. Like if something bad happens or I do something that I feel was stupid, people tell me it wasn't stupid. I would still torture myself for days on end, trying to get better at that. So I don't know. I was just on the computer, convinced myself I wasn't going to do a podcast. I already had some topics I wanted to talk about. And then finally I just said, you know what? I am going to do it. I just decided, what the hell? I'm going to do it. I have the luxury. I do this out of my home. I don't really have to set up a lot of things. I'm going to do this. Maybe it's good. I started the last one this way. I'm hearing from more and more people who've been listening to my podcasts. And thank you. If you ever listened to one before, or even if this is your first time, thank you, because there's so much stuff out there now with, streaming TV sites, things on your tablet, things on your phone. So many podcasts out there, from professional ones to amateur ones, so many different topics. Mine's always a potpourri of stuff, and the fact that you just took the chance and pressed play, thank you. The fact that you're giving me some of your time means the world to me. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about a situation that happened to me recently that when I get a situation, I kind of want to talk about it. And I've decided that let's talk about it. So what happened is I did the show How We First Met. It went really well. Our first two shows were a little rough because we had snowstorms on them, but we managed to do the shows. We even talked about canceling one of them, but we didn't have to. And I thought it was kind of, an amazing time. The first two shows, as I said, we didn't get the crowds we hoped for, but we did get really good audiences that were ready there to enjoy the show. And I will put on a show for small amounts of people just because I'm so happy to be doing it. But we did our Valentine's Day show, and that was a sellout, and that made up for, the lack of audience we had in the other ones. But I was so proud of the cast and crew, and, Colette Kendall, who puts these shows together, Keith Tom, who does the lighting and, helps build the stage, and the sound is the word I'm looking for, and the whole cast. We had some newcomers as well as some old, favorites coming back, and it was just a nice mix. I was very proud of all of them. And I got some good comments myself, which always makes me feel good and smile, and reminds me that I do good things in the world. There's my patting myself on the back there. Can you hear that? That's me patting myself on the back. Anyhow, we have. So after after the Saturday show, which was the second to last show. So it wasn't a full crowd, but it was but more than half. At the end, I was told to try to keep the show tight because there was a drag show in the Staircase Theater afterwards. So I was getting a home drive from my friend Marta Lass, he's my, for the week of How We First Met, he's kind of like my second husband, because we're like an old married couple. We look at each other and said, should we go now? You ready to go? Because he always drives me home from the rehearsals and the actual shows. It's a beautiful thing. We always have a little laugh about it. And we decided to stick around a little bit because when we walked into the thing, normally we walk into a whole bunch of people who just saw our show, but because there was a show going on, we had to be quiet. And there was a drag show on. And being a gay man, you think I've probably seen a lot of drag shows in my time, but honestly, no, I have not. And I basically was kind of intrigued by it because I've seen him on TV and stuff like that, but that's about it. So, when I came out, the first thing I noticed were all these beautiful wigs and beautiful dresses, like stunning, very tall drag queens, and just very beautiful looking. I always like the look of drag queens because they just go overboard. It's like an explosion of femininity, and I just absolutely adore it. And it was just nice to see them all. And like the dresses were mind-blowing. Like they all had to be like, must be made, because like I was talking to some of the ladies that I know, and they were like, some of these dresses are absolutely good. They're like better than the dresses that I have in my closet. So the women that were with me were almost envious of how great these men looked in drag. And of course, when I'm there, I don't talk about them as being men in drag. I talk about them as just being, beautiful women. And basically they introduced the people, and they started doing lip sync, where they would play a song and they would do this performance and they would lip sync, and they'd do songs from everything from like Britney Spears. They did, a little bit of everything, like some old stuff, some new stuff. I think I heard some Eartha Kitt in there, and it was just kind of nice. And everybody was joking about how I was singing along to all the songs, and I said, being a gay boy when I was little, even when I didn't know I was really gay, how many times did I put an Olivia Newton-John song on, or Tina Turner, or Sheena Easton, or anything like that, and sang along. And so you get to know a lot of these songs, and a lot of the songs they chose was songs that you would expect, like drag queens would like, Britney Spears' Toxic, and a song from 1982 called I've Never Been to Me by Charlene, which I saw they used in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, but it was nice to see they were still using it. It's a perfect drag queen song. And there's a moment in that song where they actually stop, and there's a talking part. And now when the talking part came, the drag queen, I should call they were calling themselves empresses and stuff like that. Like I think they had titles, because I should give a shout out to this group, because they're called the Waterfall Empire, and they put on a really interesting show. And this one part, it's a talking part, and they turned around at that part, and then the talking happened, and then they turned around to finish the song. My friend Colette was there watching me, and she was shocked that I knew all the talking parts, where she said, like, even the Empress isn't singing that. And I said, I knew this song. This is one of my yearning songs. When you're a little boy dreaming to be a woman, it's, this song, basically, it's just this, this talking part that I knew off by heart, because it was like, the song is a strange song about a woman who's jealous of another woman because she lives this glamorous life. The singer lives this glamorous life. She goes and does things with kings and queens, and she's drinking champagne on yachts and being, romanced by everybody, but she's envious of her friend who basically has this, she slaves in the house and takes care of her kid, and then, makes love to her husband at night. And she talks about how, she's lived the good life. And that's where the line, I've been to paradise, but I've never been to me. It's a cheesy song, but it was a big hit in Canada. It actually, I believe, on our own CKOC radio, I think it went to #1. I don't think it was that big a hit in the States or anything. But I just remember, I've been to paradise, never been to me. Okay, not in a great singing mood right now, but I tried. But there's this talking part, and Colette said, do you even know the talking part? I go, oh my God. Yeah, I do. So I was enjoying watching it, but I wasn't sure exactly what was going on because whenever I saw drag queens, they would just sing songs and then that was it. But this one, they were, I think they were collecting money for charity. And what they would do was while they were singing the songs, people would come up to them from like watching the show. And some of them would come up with their partner. Some of them would come up with other drag queens and they would just like kind of almost kneel and bow before them, because I think they're kind of a court and they took this really serious, and then they bowed and then they put like a donation or something. They had like, $5 bills and, loonies and toonies, and they were putting it into the bin while the people would sing, and sometimes they would kiss the drag queen's hands. And I was mesmerized by this, being a person who had never seen a drag show before. So I was like, and Corda was with me at the beginning. So we were both kind of like, because she came out to see the show that night, and then she stuck around because her drive wasn't going to be there right away. And we were both like, what is this? This is blowing my mind. And we just absolutely fell in love with this concept. Now, for those of you who know me regularly, you've probably heard in past shows that I have never been really kind of accepted in the gay community. Now, a lot of it is my fault because I gave up maybe too soon. But a lot of times when I used to go to gay events or gay things, I was kind of rejected and treated shabbily. I think I've talked about it on past podcasts, so I'm not going to go too much into that. But I've never felt comfortable in gay establishments. I've gone to like, not just clubs and bars where, I get looked over like, because I'm not really, I may have this cuteness, but I'm not like a hunk, or I don't come off like I have a lot of money, or, And so it's like, I always compare it to like a Moses parting the Red Sea. I'll walk through these good looking people and they'll just disappear. And like they'll just part, like they don't want anything to do with me. And I even went to a Pride festival one time, and there were these young guys that were like the welcoming party. Their job is to greet you. And I literally walked up and said, "Happy Pride, everyone." And they literally ignored me and handed me just the stuff without stopping their conversation, which sounded catty anyhow. But I've been to gay meetings, I've been to AIDS meetings, and even when I went where I met Mike, I always felt that nobody was listening to me when I talked, that you still had to be kind of cute and good looking. And, I know a lot of them listened to Mike. Mike was really cute, and they'd talk about him when he wasn't there, saying, "Oh, I hope he comes today. He's really quiet, but he's really cute." And I'd just be like, what the hell is wrong with me? So anyhow, when I'm watching this drag show, I'm dressed up in my, I've got my dress coat on with my big brooch, and I got red nails and stuff, but I'm in the back kind of hiding. And they're looking at me, not sure what to make of me. So they called a couple of the girls up on stage to dance with them. And one of the girls that went up is one of the girls that was in our show, Adrianna Lara, a really wonderful improviser that I'm lucky to call my friend too. And when the one Empress found out that she had actually been in the show, they said, "Please tell us, what's this show about, how we first met?" So Adrianna said, well, we have our host, Devlin, and he interviews couples, and then we as the improvisers, basically, we act out their love story. And she pointed at me, and the Empress said, "Is that Devlin right there?" And she said, "Yeah, that's him." And I was looking and, supporting my friend, clapping, whatever I had to do. And he said, "So he interviews people?" And she said, "Yeah, he's really good at it." And then all of a sudden on the microphone, the Empress just goes, "Devlin to the stage." I don't know if it was the gay man in me, but a couple of people shrugged them off and said, "No, we don't want to come up on stage." And you could see this drag queen glare that was just like trying, like, come on up, come on up. So when I was called and summoned, I felt like I was summoned to the stage. I didn't hesitate. I went up on the stage, and I was nervous as hell, but I decided, well, I'm going to go promote the show. And I was summoned. These were empresses, and I was like impressed with what they were doing. And I was told that I was going to interview the current empress. I was really confused. I'm sure there's an order. I think, because whenever they'd announce them, and I wish I remembered their names, because they're a really talented group of ladies. And they basically had a wonderful, they just were wonderful demeanor. And, they were catty and fun, but they were like really welcoming too. And so I was told that I was going to interview the head empress there. And I was so nervous, but I tried not to show it because I just felt this crowd was going to think. Now, they actually made me feel welcome. The audience applauded me, and I, tried to just stay cool. I interviewed the Empress, and the other woman who summoned me to the stage kept trying to goad me into asking her really embarrassing questions, like where does she get her padding from and stuff. But I took the high road, and, and I think the Empress appreciated that, and I just asked about things. And I asked her a question. I said, when you were a little, person, I didn't want to say boy or anything because I don't want to offend anyone. Did you dream that you would find a place that would be accepting like this? Because I have never been to a drag show, and this place just seems so welcoming. And basically, she said, no, I couldn't imagine that, and she couldn't believe I had never seen a drag show. I said, yeah, I've seen TV, but I've never been to a live one, and I have to say, I think it's wonderful. And so, she answered all my questions. I only did a couple, and then she said that she was surprised that I'd never been to a drag show, and she hoped that I come out again because she said we'd make you feel welcome. And I mentioned, well, I remember singing to records and stuff when I was a kid, kind of thing. And, I grew up gay as well. And at that point, the one just said, yeah, we kind of guessed that. And then the audience just kind of laughed and applauded and stuff. But it didn't sound like they were mocking me. It was just like, yeah, you're not hiding anything with your red nails and your demeanor and stuff. And it didn't make me feel bad. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess it's obvious. But she actually thanked me for being gentle during the interview. And she said, I saw you lip syncing to a lot of the songs. I think I might have a dress in your size if you want to put one on. And I, at that moment, I said, no, not tonight, but I am so tempted. And if they knew in my head just how tempted I was, it's just I was coming off the high of another show, and I was so worried that, I didn't expect to jump into a dress or anything like that by the end of the night, but I felt really good about it. And I went, and several of my friends were like, why didn't you do it? You could have done that. And I said, yeah, I could have done it. I could think of 100 songs that I could have sang, especially lip syncing. But I said, no, it just didn't feel right. And anybody who knows me is I follow my heart, and that's the way I roll. That's the way I roll. And it didn't feel right at the time. Now, when I got home, I was kind of confused, and not in a bad way. It was the first time I actually felt like the gay community kind of accepted me. Oh God, here's the waterworks. Sorry, it's just, I told you, I'm a little emotional tonight. And it kind of made me happy and sad at the same time. And I basically, it was like something I wanted to go to again, but that it was also something I was afraid to go to again because I was afraid, because the community was very welcoming, but I also know that communities like that, any kind of community, straight, mixed, gay, is very political, and it has their own challenges and social etiquettes that I was like, I'm not sure, but I want to thank the people, not that any of them are listening, but hopefully they are, of Waterfall Empire. They were really wonderful. I may check it out again. I'm very interested. I'm definitely going to watch the Staircase Calendar. A friend of mine that I used to work at Target was there as well, and he had a beautiful singing voice. I didn't even know. I won't mention his name because he went by another name, and I can't remember what that other name was, but he actually wrote something that I had wrote because I kind of was in a weird place after it. Because as much as I felt like, oh my God, this could be a place I could get used to, I also feared that it could be a place that I'm opening my heart up for rejection, and I'm just not ready for that right now. But I want to thank the people again of Waterfall Empire for making me feel good, and you might see me out again in the future. And I totally recommend checking this group out. I don't know, they probably have a website. Maybe if Corda's listening to this, if they have a Facebook, maybe you can link to it, because I'm definitely giving them a little heads up here because it was nice. Sorry, just having a little bit of a drink. Wipe my eyes. And I thought I'd stay in this topic for a little bit. I have a small bit to say on something. A couple of days ago at my work, again, I'm not going to name names, but a gentleman there that works with me came up to me and said to me that, how do you like to be referred to? What pronoun do you use? And I was kind of blown away by this because I didn't know this was a thing. And then I said, well, he is fine. As I get older, I want to identify with I want to kind of be a man-woman type thing, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want to beat it over people's heads. I want to be referred to as a man, even though as I get older, I feel more as a woman. And I like to be treated like a woman, but I still like to be referred to as a man because I actually like being a man. It's just I like being treated as a woman in some ways. Like I love when straight men either flirt with me or treat me like I'm a woman, like they just handle me like they would handle a woman. And then when we joke and stuff and they see that I'm kind of one of the boys still, I thought it was nice. And I said, you can refer to me as a he. I honestly think it would be weird if suddenly I just referred to myself as a she, because I don't think of myself as a woman in any way. I just kind of want to be treated and respected like a woman because I just do, in a lot of ways. And I thanked him for it because I said, well, thank you for asking that. And he goes, well, nowadays you just don't know. And when it comes to my friends, I just want to make sure I'm not insulting them if I'm kind of talking to them one way or another. Now, I recently saw that somebody posted a thing that said that they think that now in this world, it's pretty bad when we actually refer to kids when they're born by a certain gender. Himself, herself, and that. And I actually read that until they can say what they identify with, we should actually call them themselves, oneself. And I couldn't believe I was reading this. I understand why they're saying that people should be able to choose their gender. And I know a lot of young people are kind of identifying with different genders. And I think that's a good thing. Like if you have a boy and suddenly he identifies as a girl, and a lot of parents are promoting that, or vice versa if you have a little girl that's identifying as a boy. But they are trying to get this thing where people don't genderify the kids until they're old enough, like 3 or 4, can say, I think I'm a girl, I think I'm a boy. Now, as a gay man, I think I should be thinking that this is a positive thing, but I actually think it's a little bit more disturbing. I think kids should, it comes back to what I talked about a couple of weeks ago about kids being able to rebel. I think if you're born a boy, it's a gender thing, you are scientifically a boy. You might not feel it inside when you're growing up. but you're still technically a boy and you're a girl, and then you work to make that happen. Like, okay, I'm going to identify now as a boy, even though I was born a girl. So I don't think changing it to turn them into like itself or themself or oneself is a positive thing. I've always talked about that. I think one of the things that makes me a strong person is I fought to have to be a gay man. I love that it's a little bit easier now for the younger generation, but I don't think it should be too easy. I think, and this just doesn't go for gay people, I think everybody needs that struggle. I think everybody needs to fight for who they are. And I think if we make things so easy to the point where we're calling kids it and one and them because we don't know what gender they are. Well, we do know what gender they are scientifically. No, we can't read their insides. But I think when they come to that turn, I think there should be them working for it and not just like, well, we didn't give them a gender until they could decide. That puts a lot of pressure on kids, and it's also could be a lot confusing. I know a lot of trans people who didn't know they were trans until they were later in life. I know some trans people that identify with a sex, but I'm not sold on if that's going to stick or if they're going to just pull a gender switch later on. So I think this is something that you should just deal with. And yes, it's hard. But I think all life is hard. Even just being, even being straight can be hard because you're still trying to figure out who you are. And because we put so many anxieties and stresses on people in the world, all life is hard. So to put like a little 4-year-old or a 5-year-old in a situation like that, to make them now, you have to think about what gender you think you are. Well, some kids don't know what that is until later, And you should open them up to both sides, absolutely, as in, ask them, do you want to play hockey? Do you want to play baseball? Do you want to play, do ballet? You can be a girl and play hockey. You can be a boy and do ballet. Give them the option. I know a mother, again, I'm not going to name names, but a mother who, the father is trying desperately to just kind of raise their son to be healthy and deciding, okay, look, if you turn out to be gay, I'm going to love you. And the mother is basically constantly like, are you bisexual? Are you gay? Like, this kid was like 9, 10 years old, like barely even thinking about any kind of sex or any kind of like, when I say sex, I don't mean like the act, I'm talking about the gender. Like they're not thinking about, I think I like the opposite sex, or I think I like boys, I think I like girls like me. And they constantly were putting pressure on, like, if you identify as trans, you let us know immediately. But it was like, don't ram it down their throat, because once again, growing up is already so screwed up. It should be something that they discover. And if you have a good relationship with your kid will eventually talk about it. I respected the hell out of this guy asking me that, because I thought it was just nice. But I'm 50 years old. I pretty much made my decisions. But there are a lot of people who don't become trans until later in life as well. But I think just getting rid of the pronoun game is not a good thing. Scientifically, we are born a gender, and yes, we can teach them to be open. We can teach them that they have possibilities. But to just say, well, you were born a boy, but just because you identify with a girl, you now work for that. We will now help you, and hopefully you have a support group to do that. All I will end this on is that when later in the day, when I thought about it more, I came to the conclusion that I did, and I went up to this guy and I said, oh, by the way, thank you for calling us friends. Because, a lot of the people at my work I consider just employees or people I like. But the fact that he used the word friend was more important to me than what pronoun I used. The fact that he actually thought I was a friend made it a lot nicer. Anyhow, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to get some water, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of other things. I'm going to talk about empathy, because I am thinking about empathy a lot lately. And, I'm going to talk about that coming up next.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go!
Welcome back, and I hope you grabbed yourself a drink or a snack, or whatever you're doing. Whether you're just sitting there listening to my voice, I'll try to make it as sexy as possible, or whether you're just, I don't know, doing something in the background and have me playing. You know, I'm honored if you're doing your laundry and listening to me. So, I told you it was a little bit of a rough weekend. It was, it was supposed to be a really great weekend, and it didn't turn out that way. And I won't go into big things, but I had friends that were dealing with some depression. I had friends that were overthinking things, and as we know, I feel both those pain. I had a friend who actually lost a close friend of theirs and found out in not the greatest way. And then some friends that just had some blue things. Now, there were some good moments in it. I luckily, all these friends, and this is multiple friends, this isn't just one, but I had good moments with all of them. I tried to reach out to them. And even last week was weekend was a much better weekend, the weekend before last weekend. But I had a friend that reached out to me, and I hadn't heard from him for a while. We kind of actually got a bit of a stray for a bit. And then he actually contacted me and said, "Hey, are you there? I need a friend." And we talked a little bit online, and I had a really busy day ahead of me. And I made him feel a little better, but he asked if there was possibility if we could meet for coffee. We used to do this when we were a little bit closer, and then, as I said, we kind of went astray for a bit. And I knew I had a lot to do, but I didn't want to be a hypocrite, always saying, you know, people should be there. So I moved a couple of things and asked Mike if it would be okay if I went, and I was there for him, and it was nice to be there for him. I'm not doing this to pat myself on the back or like, oh, that Devlin is such a great guy. I'm not doing that. What I'm trying to say is that I try to make time for people. Like, I try my best. And like this weekend just was supposed to be, you know, we had planned this weekend for a long time. We went to the Grease sing-along, and, you know, the actual sing-along, we had a good time, but it was just a train wreck. I can't say it any other way. There was some good moments, but, you know, I was fighting insecurities. I found out later my one friend was dealing with some stuff. My other friend tried to forget some stuff, but he had some heavy stuff he was going to be dealing with later on in the weekend, which I found out. And then I had one friend who had been fighting depression all week. My insecurities came from one of my friends. I don't like to see him in pain. And he, you know, we had a good moment stuff, but there was something he said, and it weighed heavy on my head. And he said, just because I'm having a bad time of it and you can't help me, I appreciate what you're doing, and I keep doing what you're doing. But my bad depression shouldn't affect your mood. And I was kind of a little offended by that. And I thought to myself, no. If you love somebody and care about them and take their love seriously, I am totally, no. Yes, I should be able to still put it in perspective, like, I take it a little harder than most, but it's called empathy, and I've been constantly bringing up the fact that this is something we are losing in the world. No, if I see a friend in pain, I will do everything I can to try to make them. But I also know realistically I can't magically snap my fingers and have them come out of it. But I can keep adding to the positivity and try. But there comes a time that, yes, I might start feeling like I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. And that's me. That is on me. And yes, I shouldn't take it too seriously, but I think when you love somebody, people are always like, oh, I worry about you so much. But if you don't feel any kind of empathy of not seeing them getting better or worrying about them, and it starts affecting your mood, that's what friendship is. That's what relationships are. I don't care if it's a love relationship. I don't care if it's a friendship. I don't care if it's a family member. If you're not starting to be affected when you see a family member who is not getting any better, or this person is slowly getting better, but you can see when you look into their eyes, you just know immediately. And like I was already feeling a little insecure because I couldn't help this person. But when I finally saw them face to face, and I also get, you get to the point because everybody handles depression differently. I try to hide away for a bit, but then I know there's a point you can't hide away. You need to just be with people. And when I start seeing that they're not, like they might be with people, but because they're not with me and they keep telling me how important I am in their life, I'm number one, and they're not talking to me, and yes, I'm glad other people are there to help and stuff, but yeah, I do take it personally if you tell me how much you mean to me and then you're not talking to me. Sure, if you're not talking to anybody, I get that too. But when I get to a point where I don't feel I'm helping you, yes, it's going to affect me. And I'm not going to apologize for that. That's called I love you, fucking man. And I love you and I care about you. And when I start seeing that you aren't better, so when you keep telling me you're getting better, and then I finally see you face to face after not being together for all this time, and I look in your eyes and I can tell immediately you're not in a good place. Yes, all my insecurities come rushing back, and I was a total mess. I couldn't deal with it. We tried to be positive, and it was a mess. I just felt that, like, when the night was over, he couldn't help but get away from me. I haven't heard from him in, over 24 hours, and it drives me crazy. I've tried to send a little note or message trying to say, like, I'm trying to be positive and all this, and I know it, but no, don't you tell me I can't have empathy, because that's what love is all about. There's too many times in this world that people just tell you what you want to hear. I was so worried about you. Well, I show it. I try. I give you opportunities like, I'm going to be home tonight. Call me. Contact me. You don't have to. I understand. But if you keep pushing me away and telling me how your thoughts are helping me through this, but I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that you're getting better from anything I'm doing. Don't be telling me that. But then don't go around and tell me that your feelings shouldn't affect mine. That is what friendship's all about. Now, I don't know if this new generation, it's just easier, like, okay, I won't deal with them. I have so many friends out there that will, when they see I'm in a bad place, the first thing they do is they just, ignore me. And then I've got people that are reaching out saying, are you okay? Do you want to talk and stuff? A lot of the times I respect these people, but these people are people I barely know. And then the people I really want will say, I'm here for you. I'm worried about you. I want to be there for you. And then I'm like, I wonder if I called them, if they would be there for me. If I said, can we get together in the next day or two? Because I could really use your face. Yours is the only face I want in front of me to talk or just to be there. And so don't tell me my I can't be affected by your bad mood. When I see my friends in pain, I am going to be affected. It's called empathy. And we need to get back to that place. We need to get back to that place. I see so many people talk about how it's so good I have my animals because they have empathy. Yeah, they do. That's what they do. They can sense our pain, especially dogs. They can really sense when we're going through stuff. But so do some people, and I'm one of those people. So don't push me away and tell me I have no right to have feelings because I can't help you. Because yes, your pain is my pain. That is how love works. He was in a bad place. I didn't tell him that. I just accepted it. I don't know if he'll listen to this, but if he does, he'll know it's him. And when he's in a better place, I'm going to tell him. Don't, I understand we all get into bad moods, but don't tell me I can't be affected by not being able to help you. That's kind of what love is all about. We be strong for each other. Sometimes there's moments one's stronger, the other one isn't, and then the other way around. But there are sometimes moments when you do have a thing where, yes, there's two people that are having trouble. That's when you call lean on each other. Don't tell me there's no empathy. Okay. Got riled there, but it's just been bothering me lately. Anyhow, moving on, I want to talk about a serious subject, something I never actually knew existed, and I don't know the official name, so don't be mad at me, but I recently found out that police do something called, I want to call it a security check. A safety check, maybe. Security check. Basically, there is a thing online that you can go and you can actually ask the police to look into somebody who you haven't heard from in a strange amount of time. I don't know if there is a week or 2 weeks or something. The first time I heard about this is just recently, about a month ago. Again, I won't name names. I don't think he listens to my podcast, so I hope he doesn't mind I'm talking about this. But basically, it was a guy whose girlfriend was gone away for a little while, and he decided to surprise her by going to this event and wanted to be all romantic and surprise her. And when he got there, she wasn't at this event. It was out of the town he lived. So he contacted her, he tried to text her, tried to call her, contacted her in any way, and could not get in touch with her for several days. So he heard about this thing called a security check. Now, I decided to talk about it because I think it's a good thing, but I also think there's probably people that abuse it, like if you're a stalker. So if you're a stalker, please don't use this to stalk people. But if you go through a couple of days where you haven't heard from somebody, or weeks, then what you do is you contact the police and tell them the address and stuff. And the police will actually go find this person, see if they can find the person, and then they'll call you and say they're alive and well. And so he went and did this, and they called him back and said, yeah, we found her, and your ex-girlfriend is fine. And he basically said, you mean my girlfriend? And he said, that's not what she said. So this was basically the way this girl dumped him, was to do this. She decided she just wasn't going to text or call him, and that was it. And then when he got the police, basically, police told them that that's it. That was your relationship. So, yeah, shitty way to find out. But I was amazed that you could actually do this. And I actually brought it up to another friend who was worried because he hadn't heard from one of his friends since February 8th. And we were now going on to like February 24th. And he was getting really worried. He had sent texts, he sent phone calls, didn't get to him. He lives in a fairly security building. So unless the person is there to let you in, he could never get in. So what happened was he was getting worried. It's been 2-3 weeks now. And he decided, I don't know what to do. I'm going to try to get into that building and sneak in when somebody comes out or something. And I told him about the security check. And he looked into it, and it was a legit thing, and he gave the information. But the problem was is that he gave the wrong address or something. It didn't happen, but they said, well, make sure you get the right address, and we'll go check on your friend. My friend didn't want to wait that long, so he decided to go to the security building, and he got in. He managed to get in and knocked on the door, but couldn't get to him. There was a guy who he thought was maybe the manager of the building, and basically asked him, I'm looking for somebody. But it turned out I guess there was a little convenience store in the security, in this like apartment building, and he ran it. And he said, well, who are you looking for? And he gave the name. And then the guy didn't really know him by the name, but my friend started describing him, and then the guy who ran the store inside the apartment building started continuing the investigation. It's the description, and he said, yeah, that's totally him. And then he brought him into this other room and said, I don't know if I should be the one to tell you this, but I believe your friend is dead. I think he had a heart attack. And my friend called me instantly. Now, I knew this guy. I wasn't close to him, but I know my friend was. And he was in shock when he told me, because we had talked a couple of days ago, and I was the one who told him to try the security check. And my friend was like really not feeling it emotionally yet because it hadn't sunk in, but I was concerned for him, and I talked to him a couple times on the phone that day. And I couldn't believe that, like, we had joked, like, because this guy has been known to do little things where he goes missing. And none of us who knew this guy thought that it was going to end as tragic as it did. So after all I went through with all my other friends going through depressions and stuff, I actually had to deal with another friend who just lost a friend. So this weekend wasn't that great, and that's why I'm a little emotional. I'm actually trying to be a little positive, but the reason I'm telling this story is because there is a thing, it's like a security check. So if there are people like family members or close friends that you have not heard from, and you're starting to get worried, instead of going and putting missing or police or calling 911, try this security check. I think it's something you'd be able to look into. I'm sure all cities have it, and the police will literally go to their apartment and try to contact them, find places they work and stuff, and they'll call you. And it's a great service, and sadly, I have two stories where it kind of happened. One didn't end really, well, both of them ended kind of crappy, but one ended really kind of miserable, and it's really sad. I'm going to leave this thing on a positive note. As I said, this weekend we had planned it for a while. There was some positive things in it. There were moments that my friends did. We laughed, we hugged, we cried, we talked, we listened, and we got through some really difficult things. And I basically decided I wasn't going to write anything on Facebook, and I wrote just that. And I decided that, a lot of people who listen to my show are having hard times right now, and you got to count your blessings. Because that's why my one friend just found, all of a sudden, a friend of his is no longer there. And so even though this weekend was a train wreck, and I saw, my friends in dark depressions, a little blue, overthinking things, my insecurities were there, I'm looking to the silver linings on the clouds. I'm looking to the positive things, the light coming through, the dark skies. I'm looking for anything to remind you that you can have a bad day, you can have a bad weekend, you can have a bad week, but hold on, because good days will come. And yes, sometimes you have to work on it. Sometimes if you're going through a depression that's lasting way too long, you may have to make those calls. You may have to get out and do stuff, because sometimes you do need to have someone there for you. But it's not weakness. I've told many people, if you're having a bad time, we can get together. We don't even have to talk about it, but just sometimes having someone there to take your hand or just love you without saying any words, just listening to music or putting on a movie is all you really need. So I want to flip this onto a positive thing and say, don't give up. Don't give up. Now, I'm recording this right at the height of all my insecurities, and I'm kind of still trying to stay positive, and I'm hoping by the time I drop this, it'll be fine. Like, things will be in a better place. It could be a worse place, you never know. But what I'm trying to say is just, if you're having a bad day, go to bed, and maybe tomorrow you're going to wake up, and there'll be some emotional sunshine, little bits. But count those blessings too, because they are important. And right now, I'm counting you as one of those blessings if you made it through the entire thing. Please let me know if you've listened to this. Let me know what you think. You can disagree with me, agree with me, but let me know you listened to it. I'd love hearing that I'm making a difference. That's my little ray of sunshine. And I'm trying to stay positive tonight, which I am, even though I'm breaking up every once in a while. I'm still ending this on a high note, and please find your high note too. I hope I've put a little bit of a smile on your face. If I haven't, keep looking for it. It's out there. I'll see you next week. I'll talk to you very soon.